the benefits of leafing is essentially what we're doing is we're opening up the fruit zone. I'm going to do a demonstration of this here in a moment. And we want to have the fruit exposed to what we call filtered sunlight. And we're doing this because we're reducing potential mildew pressure or any other fungal pathogen issues on the grape. The direct sunlight hitting the cluster at moments throughout the day is important for mitigating those kinds of issues, but we don't want to get too much sun hitting the cluster. So we want to shoot for what we call a filtered sun, and then we're only going to leaf on the morning sunny side. So the afternoon side, as the sun turns throughout the day, and that afternoon side of the vine is going to be very hot. That's the hottest part of the day. We want to keep that side of the vine unleafed. The other strong benefit to leafing is we're hanging the fruit and we're exposing it for good spray penetration. So pesticide spray programs are really important in vines. In some areas you can get away with minimal spraying. Some areas you have to be on a 10 to 14 day spray 10 to 14 day interval spray program. Here in Nevada, fungal pathogens like mildew or botrytis and bunch rot might not be as prevalent, but mildew still thrives, and it begins right after bud break. In some vineyards it's inoculating through the winter, and as soon as it starts warming up a little bit and it is moist in early spring, the sporulation begins. And so although it's hot and dry in July, August, September, etc. in Nevada, the mildew begins to take off in April or May. And this year we had a really wet May, and we do have mildew in this vineyard. So leafing, opening up the fruit zone, getting some aeration, allowing spray penetration is going to be really important to preventing mildew. Thinning out the canopy, this is a very important step that I always emphasize. Make sure all your shoots are tucked and they're pretty much straight up and down, because when we start leafing this, we want this to be pretty much how this vine is standing erect in shoot position. We call it shoot positioning when we're tucking the shoots and having them in position. So now I'm going to begin leafing this. The most important thing is what we're trying to do is leaf in the inside. If you can see everything that's going on here, we want to open up the inside of this canopy. I always, the analogy I like is so that a bird can easily fly up in here and perch and look its way out and be shaded. And so that's what we're trying to create here. Sometimes vines are even more dense than this. So I'm going to begin leafing. We want to leave as much as we can on top of the clusters. We're only going to remove under the clusters for the most part. So I'm going to start doing this, and then you can see, you might not be able to see every move I'm going to make, because this is what I think it's supposed to be a little bit more artistic than real scientific. It's not like pruning where you're making exact pruning cuts based on your fruit load that you're going for. But you can see here, I've already opened this up. You can see how that's starting to look. So this is not a really hard task. So the last thing too that's important is to begin leafing at about this time in the grapes phenology. We're heading into bunch close. We still have really green clusters. So these grapes, the cuticles are still strong. The skin hasn't began to thin. We're not going into veraison, so the skin is not sensitive and susceptible to much sunburn. So at this point, when we leaf, if the sun is hitting the grapes, it's fine, they adapt to it. In fact, UC Davis has done a lot of studies that's shown that leafing during the green stage of the fruit is really, really beneficial for a lot of things, but it actually hardens up the grape a little bit to the sun heading into that real hot part of the season, or when you're almost at full veraison and the grapes are really soft and almost ready to be picked. And mid-September you get a 100-degree day. Your grapes are a little more likely to withstand the intensity of that sun if they've had a little exposure to the sun early on. So I hope that makes sense.